Okay, my name's Fraser Stronach. I'm the road test editor of 4x4 Australia. We're here today to celebrate what is the end of the production of the FJ Cruiser here in Australia. The FJ Cruiser came out in 2011. In that time sold about 11,000 units. In its own way, it was a celebration of these older Toyotas, you know, especially the 40 series. So we've come full circle. We've got the new car, but all the old cars. We've got here today Norm Needham. Norm knows more about Toyota four-wheel drives, especially early ones, than anyone else in the country. He's driven heaps of them, his own FJ40s, owned lots of Toyotas, worked on them as a mechanic. He's the man when it comes to especially these older Toyota four-wheel drives. Now, Norm, this is our oldest car. Tell me about it.
This is an FJ25. It's the one that started Toyota four-wheel drives in Australia, brought in by Thiess Constructions. Initially to work on the Snowy Mountain scheme, in the later years on the Snowy Mountain scheme, and then of course Thiess started Thiess Toyota, which then became Toyota Australia. This car's unusual in it had a 4-speed gearbox but only a single range transfer case.
Petrol engine? Petrol
engine, yeah. The earlier prototypes were called BJs, although they weren't petrols, but this was the first FJ, F meaning petrol. It's got a single-speed transfer case but a very low first gear in the 4-speed gearbox, which gave it pretty good capability in rough ground.
Okay. Now the 20s gave away to the 40s, is that right?
The 20 gave way to the 40. This is a petrol 40 series, which is the iconic vehicle as far as Toyota goes.
This is the car that really made Toyota, wasn't it?
It made Toyota. Again, it started out when it came out, it had a dual-speed transfer case, but a 3-speed gearbox. And then later models went to a 4-speed box, and the very, very latest of them actually had a 5-speed gearbox. But it had the conventional dual-range transfer case, so it had what we call low range, and what people think this car didn't have a transfer case, the FJ25, but it actually does. It's just a single speed.
It's still got to put the drive up in front, doesn't it?
That's right. Still got to drive to the front axle.
And next along the line, diesel power.
Diesels, I think, came out in the 40 series. The first one might have been about 79 or so, which was a B series engine, 4-cylinder, again with a 4-speed gearbox and a dual-range transfer case. The running gear very similar to the petrol car, but obviously the diesel motor had a bit more torque. Probably wasn't quite as fast, a lot more frugal. They had a couple of different sizes motors in them. They had a B and a 3B engine, with both 4-cylinder diesels.
So what's the difference between this one and this, apart from the obvious longer wheelbase?
Well, the long wheelbase had a 6-cylinder engine. This is a HJ47, H for diesel. Yep.
Which is the current designation for Toyota diesel.
It is, with the 6-cylinder ones, yes. The B was a 4-cylinder, H was a 6-cylinder, so this would have a 2H engine in it. I'm not sure what exactly year model it is, but it might even have an H engine in it, which is very similar. They were again two different sizes. One was just over 3 litres and one was a bit bigger, the 2H. Again, 4-speed gearbox. Dual range transfer case. Running gear very similar to the early 40s.
Next along the line, 55 series. Now that overlapped the 40s, didn't it?
This particular 55 is actually older than all those 40s, but the 55 was in production right up until the very late 70s. So it was a first recreational vehicle, if you like to call it that, or a vehicle that had a little more comfort. It again had, this particular one's a petrol one. It's got a 6-cylinder engine in it. They never, at least in Australia, we didn't see a diesel F55. We didn't get a BJ55 or an HJ55. We just got the FJ petrol engine. This one is old enough. It's the first year production, this one, and it has actually a 3-speed box. But most of the ones you see around are 4-speed with a dual range transfer case. And again, the same running gear as the 40 series, basically, leaf sprung, except it's slightly shorter wheelbase than a 47 and slightly longer than a 40.
Beautiful looking car, isn't it? Nicely restored. A real classic.
Commonly known, if you read American magazines, as the Iron Pig.
Now, 60 series, it sort of replaced this, and this was Toyota's move to much more of a family recreational four-wheel drive away from more commercial based.
This is a much finer vehicle. The first 60s were pretty much an FJ55 with a different skin. Still had leaf springs, still the same running gear. They changed the style of the transfer case. It was still a dual range transfer case. They changed it to a different style, different design of case, but it was still gear driven. So basically the running gear was pretty much the same. This car came with several different petrol engines, 6-cylinder petrol engines, all pretty much the same size, and the two diesel engines, which was the 2H as in the HJ47, or the 12HT, which is in this car. This is an HJ61. The 12HT is reputed to be one of the best engines that Toyota have ever built. It's an inline 6 with an inline pump pushrod motor.
Indestructible.
This thing, I believe, has done close on 500,000 kilometres, and I would guess that it's probably never been touched mechanically, or maybe some of the running gear, but certainly the engine's probably original.
Now moving along, we're back to commercial Toyotas now. This is the 70 series which replaced the 40 series in the commercial lineup.
70 series came out 75. There was quite a few different models ranging from Bandera, which was basically Hilux running gear, up to long wheelbases, which had 6-cylinder engines in them. This particular car is a BJ74. It has got what is basically a 3B, but it's got a different cylinder head with different ejection, and it's a 13 BT. Factory turbo, another very well respected engine.
This is one of the first turbos that Toyota did? Diesel turbos?
Well, the 12HT would have been before this one as a factory turbo, but not long before it. This motor's got a great reputation too. But again, it's still a leaf-sprung vehicle. This one will be a 5-speed, I think.
And obviously a recreational vehicle.
It's more of a recreational vehicle. It's got a couple of seats in the back of it. It's a mid-wheelbase. It's slightly longer than the 40. There is also a BJ70, which is a short wheelbase, which is about the same wheelbase as a 40. BJ70 had a B engine in it. There was some FJ70s around, not very many in Australia, but we did see them. And they were a bit of a rocket because they were much lighter than anything else had been, and they had the later model 6-cylinder engine in them, and they went quite well.
Now next one's another 70 series, but specifically a 78 series, what people generally call a troop carrier.
Okay, this has got the engine in it that many would say is the best motor it is definitely the best motor that Toyota's ever put in a four-wheel drive. This has got the 6-cylinder factory turbo, overhead cam, diesel engine. It is the motor to have.
Modern design, but still nice and robust.
Modern design, but it doesn't work too hard and very long lasting. And they're a very popular motor. This motor also appeared in all the wagons, the 4-door wagons. Not all of them, sorry. The 100 series. 105 had the 18Z motor. This was also available with the 18Z, which 18Z was a naturally aspirated 6-cylinder diesel with indirect injection. This is direct injection.
Now behind us we've got the latest iteration of the 78.
Okay, now
4.5 V8 turbo diesel.
This is a V8, still called a 78, but its designation starts with a V. Everybody knows these. They're reasonably frugal. They go like cat. They're a really nice vehicle to drive. These later ones have got, well, as the BJ70, the other 78, they've got coil spring front end, but they're still live axles. What can you say about it? It's the workhorse, and it's still
everywhere in the outback.
It's seen everywhere, and it's very popular.
Now here we are back to what we're here for, FJ Cruiser. in some ways a bit of a funny looking thing, but I mean the styling grows on you. Underneath this is essentially a Prado, isn't it? It's a Prado.
Essentially.
Yeah. With,
this is where we say chalk and cheese, I think.
Yeah.
This is a V6 petrol engine. Remarkably frugal, actually. In fact, we gave it 4x4 of the year about 5 years ago.
Well, that's right. When it came out, it went into our 4x4 of the year contest against a lot of good cars. The GX base spec 200, G-Wagon Mercedes, the last of the previous generation Range Rovers of the V8 turbo diesel Grand Cherokee, and it went into that contest as a bit of a novelty in a way, but came out a champion.
It seemed
the only petrol, and it blew all the other ones away.
It seemed the orphan at the start, but it shone through the weak testing.
Yeah.
Purists will say that it's not really an FJ because it's got independent front suspension, but it's got all the modern traction aids. It'll probably outperform every other car here off-road if you really stuck it to it.
Sad to see it go, hey?
It is sad to see it go,
yeah.
particularly that colour. I love it.